What's up YouTube? Scotty Tradition back with another video. Got a one card pickup in the mail yesterday, so I thought I would share that with you. Wasn't really looking for this card, but I've always wanted to add this particular person to the collection just due to the historical significance that he brings, so super happy to get it in. So let's just get right into it. The 1935 United Tobacco Company, Joe Louis. This is in the grade of a PSA 2. It's the world famous boxer set. So, let you guys get a close look at the card. Really just a great pose of Joe Louis with the boxing gloves. Just beautiful. And you can take a look at the back. And Joe Louis just has, an amazing story, really. His nickname was the Brown Bomber. I believe he was the heavyweight champion. I don't know if it was the longest reign, if not one of the longest reigns, but it was from 1937 to 1949. So he had a 12-year span where he was the heavyweight champion of the world. And I believe during that time he was like 25-0. So he had challenged 25 challenger fights and he won all 25. Just an amazing story. And then you go back to the fights with Joe Louis and Max Schmeling. If you guys don't know the story, basically, I think it was 1936 was the first fight. And this is kind of like when Nazi Germany was, the Nazi party was first starting to kind of indoctrinate Germany, I guess, in their propaganda and whatnot. So, so Max Schmeling was a German fighter. He never claimed to be, a Nazi fighter, but he was from Germany at the time. And Hitler certainly didn't want to waste an opportunity to promote a German, winning. So in 1936, he met Max Schmeling. I think that fight was in Yankee Stadium, if I recall. And the fight went 12 rounds, and Max Schmeling actually ended up knocking out Joe Louis in that fight in 1936. And then in 1938, I think Joe Louis was heavyweight champion at this time. They met again, and Joe Louis knocked out Max Schmeling in the first round of that fight. And I think many regard Joe Louis as the first African American kind of like nationwide hero, if that makes sense. Like, somebody that was beloved by both, black and white people. Just with all the stuff going on around just the prelude to World War II around that time. It was basically, made out to be a battle of ideals more than anything. Even though Max Schmeling didn't claim to be a Nazi necessarily, and Joe Louis, he was an American, but it was just it was bigger. I think FDR before the fight even said to Joe Louis that, hey, we need you to win this fight, pretty much. So just such an interesting background and story with Joe Louis, and then the Max Schmeling fights. So if you ever get a chance to watch those they have them on YouTube. You can give them a watch. Again, I think the first fight, Max Schmeling knocked Joe Louis out in the 12th round. And then the second fight, 2 years later, Joe Louis got the first round knockout. So just an amazing history. And Joe Louis went on to be, a great boxer for many years. Again, nickname was the Brown Bomber. Just a beautiful card. Now, the 1948 Leaf card is also a very popular card of his, but this is a very early Joe Louis boxing card. So, and I love that it's, an action kind of pose where he has the gloves on. Super cool. This is actually my first boxing card that I have in the collection. So, this particular set, there was 100 different boxers in this set, including Max Schmeling, and a few other notable boxers at the time as well. Now most of the pops are like 10 or less total graded for each of the boxers. This is by far the most graded card in the set, although it's still a relatively low pop when you compare it to anything modern. I think there's like 50 or 55 total graded by PSA, so not a huge pop, but this was a nicely centered, nicely presenting example. Not 100% sure why it's a 2. I don't see any. Usually when I see 2, I think of creasing. Maybe Maybe you could say that's a small crease. It's kind of hard to tell right by that corner, or is it just a corner? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that made it a technical 2 or not. There is some general kind of light brown toning throughout the card if you look. Um, but really, I mean, for a 2, it's actually very sharp. Presents very well. The image is super clear, so I will buy cards like this all day. You know, something that's got the scarcity from 1935, a huge name, not only in sport, but the sport of boxing, but in world history. I mean, Joe Louis, um, you know, it's just he's synonymous with that kind of the beginning of World War II and kind of becoming the first, uh, basically, national hero of African American descent. So, well, that is it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you guys all have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to the National coming up in a few weeks now, end of July. So can't wait to see you guys there if you guys are planning on going. But again, man, super happy to grab the brown bomber, Joe Louis. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.